What's up, Larson?
Can you hear me?
Rarity's best pony!
Rarity's best pony.
Yeah!
That's it. That's all we needed to establish. Hi, everybody. My name is Henry Larson. I'm a writer for the show, Pony Friendship's Magic. And this is a panel, a different kind of panel. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more of a conversation than I can interview, even though that's all I've been tweeting about last week. Anyways, so with My Little Pony, there's dozens of people who create it and who add to it, writers and artists and designers and voice actors and blah, 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 blah. And all of us are replaceable, except for one person, and that's Faust. So. So, how's it going? Yeah? Not bad. So, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about Equestria girls.
You tricked me, Mitch.
You're bad.
Didn't you read the comic book? Okay, we're not going to talk about Equestria girls. That's not what it's So, I just want to kind of chat with you about, a couple of years ago when this show was first starting, and people ask me what's my favorite job I've ever had, and it's always this, especially in the first 2 seasons. And I want to cover some of why that was the case.
So, I like the sound of that.
So I'm going to start with the Bible, because the show Bible for this show is absolutely out of this world. There's 3 Bibles that I've read that are top notch for me: The Wire, Battlestar Galactica, and this one.
I love being compared to Battlestar Galactica.
You're right there.
Love it.
It has its own style, like design style, and tons of art, and the characters are well developed. And when I went back to read through it now for this, it blew my mind how much of your Bible went through into the show, because so often things change and go along and whatnot. And this is the stat that got me. So at the end of every Bible, you have sample episodes. You had some slice of life episodes, and thank you very much. So 4 of the 5 slice of life sample episodes you had were turned into episodes. And 2 of the 4 adventure ones were, which is 6 out of 9, which is crazy.
Is it?
I think it's crazy, because once the show gets going, it evolves into its own thing. But those stories were so good that they were interspersed all throughout season 1. I should ask you a question at some point, huh? Should I just keep talking?
Well, I should just say real quick, I was shocked that so much of it was kept too. I was expecting it to be ripped to shreds and changed. In fact, when I was making it, and it took me about 6 weeks, I remember thinking, this is going to be the only part of this that's fun.
Right.
So I better enjoy it while it lasts. And also, I just went, they're going to change it no matter what, so I might as well write what I really want to do. And then most of it was done. It was kind of miraculous.
I know it's annoying to talk about it when you guys can't see it, but there's Trixies in there.
Yeah.
Complete design. There's a reference in the very first Bible, because you had a pre-Bible, a shorter one.
Yeah.
That I wrote down, but it essentially presages the Sonic Rainbow, which wasn't until episode 16, but it was right there in the Bible.
Yeah. I had a kind of a vague backstory for Rainbow Dash in mind when I was writing the top. Yeah.
And it all got in there, except sea ponies. Sea ponies are in the Bible.
Yes, sea ponies are
So everyone wants to know what happens to the sea ponies.
I don't know, it just kind of never came up. Like we were working through we started the show with some of the premises that I had in the Bible, and then we were coming up with new premises, and Hasbro was kind of had requests for things that they wanted, and I don't know, we just never got around to see Ponies. I think it might also be because I was expecting it to be a special, if there was if they ever asked for a two-parter or a potential season finale kind of thing, or a season opener or something like that. So I think I might have been, come to think of it, I think I was waiting.
Right.
We had to set up a world as it was and how it worked and who the characters were, which I knew was going to take at least half a season. And then Sea Ponies would be an extension of the world and world building. So I think I was waiting for a special moment, and it just, I don't know, things just got so crazy and insane that doing special things just kind of...
Did you have a concept though?
Fell to the wayside. Do you mean artistically?
What were they going to be?
I was such a nerd for the G1 ponies. I was going to make them look like the G1 Sea Pony horses. I was going to try. My plan was to stay as true to those designs as possible. So, seahorse styles, pony heads.
What would their story be?
I don't remember. I read the Bible.
They didn't. It wasn't in there.
It wasn't in there?
It was talking about Equestria and all the different areas.
Oh, I think yeah. Because I think that was supposed to be like a fourth area. There was Canterlot, the Cloudsdale, Ponyville, and then it was going to be like the ocean where the sea ponies live was going to be kind of revealed as a fourth land and a fourth race. So I think I only had really vague ideas. I think I had this basic concept that they meet a sea pony on the beach, and she's saying, our kingdom is in trouble, come help us and save us. And, because I was working in lots of classic mythology, both from, Greek mythology, European mythology, and even other cultures, I think I was thinking about using the Kraken in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which is funny, because now I've got using the Kraken now. So.
Right. It never goes away.
Yes, so it's always the Kraken. He haunts me.
Until you get him out. Sorry. When you're doing a Bible like this, obviously character is the most important thing.
For me, yes.
But for me, it was, if that's one, then dynamics is 1A. And I love what you have in this, where within the main 6, there are different little groupings, like Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy knew each other previously.
Mm-hmm.
And Applejack and Rainbow Dash had a little rivalry kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was what really helped me understand the characters, was not just reading about them blankly, but how they bounce off each other.
Interact with one another, yeah.
Again, I don't have a question.
It was just like fodder for, I wanted to include it in there, it's trying to spark people's imaginations, So if I said Rainbow Dash gets frustrated with Fluttershy and fearfulness, that for me instantly sparks a story, So, there was a section where I kind of talked about, and that's something, Craig and I did when we were developing Faust for Imaginary Friends, things when I was developing Super Best Friends Forever as a TV show. I did that with those characters as well, kind of talked about how and we did it for Wonder of Yonder too, like how do these characters get along together, and how do they not get along together, and without giving plot ideas that, at least for me, instantaneously sparks ideas for conflicts for episodes. Yeah. So for me, everything comes from character, and that's part of it. How they don't get along.
Right, and it
That's what
makes
stories.
it makes the world exist outside of the confines of the episode.
Yeah.
You don't have to see the friendship between Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then informs who they are. It's just a really nice way to create episodes.
Thank you.
This is going to be a lot of me praising how she runs things.
Which I don't mind. At all.
She's really good at it. So, and
I need to hear it. It's important.
This show, and Foster's were run completely differently from any other show I've ever worked on. Where it's a premise lottery. You put in your premises and hope you win the lottery and get the right one. But on this show, I would get an email and it would say, "You're doing Lunar Eclipse to come in this day." And it was already a premise. It was already approved. It was one she wanted to do. And as a writer, my job is to make you happy. Try to make you happy. So it was great. It was great because I wasn't precious about the idea because it wasn't mine. So then you're more freeing to come up with what the actual episode is. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to do things.
You like it.
And I remember the first time I met you was when I went into for Foster's. Mm-hmm. I got to do one episode of Foster's at the very end. There was a lot of people in the room.
Yeah, we had a big story.
Derek Bachman was there.
Probably one other. Was Rob then? Yeah.
I think one other guy too.
Yeah.
But I was so intimidated by you.
Me?
Yes. I remember where you were sitting there on that end of the table and I was like hanging on your every word. I gotta remember to do that.
Sorry. I didn't know.
I was very intimidated.
You didn't see me. You were totally calm. It was great.
I was freaking out.
And you did a good job. That script was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a fun one because there was an online vote. It was about a race between Mac and Blue.
Oh, that's right.
There was an online vote for who would win. So there was actually 2 endings in the script.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was a good episode, you guys. Just check it out.
I wish I could have done more on that show. It was really fun.
Yeah, no, we had that. It's funny you say Pony is your favorite job, and I loved Pony, but it was immensely hard, difficult. Foster's was the job I had the most fun on. That was a time in my life I was actually enjoying my work a lot. That was great.
Well, again, it was a great cast of characters who had relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm. Ensemble casts.
Yeah.
It's fun to work with ensemble casts.
Now, in that show, you had a writer's room, right? Or no?
Yes, I've always done writer's room. We did writer's room on Powerpuff Girls, and that was a hard thing when I started My Little Pony because I had to convince. That was what I was used to. I was naive. I thought that was normal. I thought like the writing staff gets together for a day or two, and we throw around jokes, and we talk the story through, and we help and support each other, working the story out, and then we. One person goes off and writes everything that everybody talks about collectively. It's normal for live action television, especially comedies, to have writers' rooms like that, all the way to the end stages. Like there'll be 8 people in a room with the script up on a screen, and they're all writing it together at the same time. So when I started on My Little Pony, and I said, I want a writing staff. I want my writing staff to be in the U.S. because the rest of my staff had to be in Canada, so I could work directly with my writers because I need a writer's room. And they were like, what? Like, they don't get it. You have writers and they submit a premise, and if you like the premise, they write. And you go, no, that's not how it works. That is how it works. I was the weird one, and I had no idea.
That's why you ended up in the Pound Puppets closet.
Yes, we ended up in the Pound Puppies closet. All right, do they know this?
No.
Does anybody know this? Okay. That they were so confused by this that first of all I didn't get entirely what I wanted because I didn't have a writing staff. All my writers were freelance. I could only have a story room with me, my head writer Rob Renzetti, and then whoever was writing the script. So the rest of my staff wasn't allowed to be involved because they didn't get weekly salaries. They got paid for individual scripts. So we would have had to pay them more than to be in the story room. So I asked for a story room, a room for me and my writers to sit in and talk, and we write our story out on index cards and pin them up on a bulletin board. And for a while, they let us use some conference rooms, and then the conference rooms were always empty. Like every time, we do whole, day-long.
We
had one day.
The entire wall was a whiteboard.
Right, and for a few months, they would book us a conference room to work in, and then all of a sudden I got a call going like, we need those rooms for meetings, so you can't use them anymore. So I was like, well, where can I have my story meetings? And they said, can you do them in your house?
Oh my God.
And I was like, no. No. And at the beginning of the production, I actually did. We had a handful of story meetings in my house because they were changing buildings, and I was trying to be accommodating.
We had a writer summit in your house.
Yeah, we had a writer
The
summit.
dog.
Yeah, my dog. Yeah, right. You know what was funny about the worst thing, the real reason I didn't want to have a story meetings at my house is because I didn't have time to clean my house before people came over to have story meetings because I was working so hard. My house was dirty all the time.
I remember that when we had a summit, Craig was there, and I think he was cleaning out the garage or something. There was a bunch of Powerpuff stuff in
Yeah. Cartoon Network would call us periodically and go, "We have all this merchandise that we want you to have." And he's like, "What?" And they bring over like 50,000 boxes.
Oh my God.
That we
Wow.
have to sort through of like Powerpuff Foster's merchandise. And it was probably
Yeah, there was all this domestic stuff happening. Trying to write
Yeah.
the story.
So we had a couple story meetings. One of the Hasbro executives would work from home, so we could use her office. Were you in any of the
Linda?
Linda
Yes.
office story
Yes.
meetings, which was crazy?
So the rooms get progressively
Smaller, and then they finally gave us like a very small windowless storage room
Oh my.
behind the Pound Puppies area that had boxes and a really old table.
Really old table, chairs stacked against the
Chairs
wall.
stacked against the wall, and I was like, well, it's better than nothing. It was fine. But we were taping our index cards to the wall, so I asked for a bulletin board, and like 6 weeks later, I get a bulletin board like this big. And it was actually kind of hilarious at the time because I was just losing my mind. This was so far down into season 1, and everything was just so hard then that I taped the cards where they need to be taped, and we pinned the cards on the little bulletin board, you know, the 9 cards that fit on that. I took a bunch of pictures of it. Because I found that really funny.
You deserve
We had to
better.
go through the Pound Puppies area, which was empty. There was never anybody there.
No.
Plenty of room, plenty of space, desks,
No.
small rooms. Pound Puppies art and no people ever. And we
Yeah.
went through that to get to this little closet.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it took them 6 weeks to give me a bulletin board that big. Like, it's like somebody went to Target to like the kids to order a little bulletin board, and so unfortunately that was a final straw moment for me.
Really?
It was getting towards the final straw. It was
Right.
like one of the final 10 straws was that one. Because I was just like, they don't even know what we're doing. They don't understand what we're doing.
Break your story really tiny.
Just like on tiny little, those little itty bitty post-its. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of my fond memories. Very fun. Sorry, you guys. You might hear a lot of griping music. I'm just trying to be cool.
You don't have to do it quick, right?
No.
Story meetings usually started with griping. Like, you, me, and Rob would sit there.
Yes, I needed to vent because I was alone for the rest of the
Yeah.
week, locked in my office, and the story meetings once a week were the only time I got to talk to
We
human
would
beings.
complain about whoever needed to be complained about
Yes.
for a while, and then get coffee, and then start. And
Yes.
There's a lot of Wikipedia happening.
Yes.
Because there was always, what about this creature or this creature?
Right. Or the mythology from this culture or that culture.
Yes.
Like when we had to find new monsters or more
Yes.
new creatures or characters. Yeah.
And there was, so Robert Zetti, who was mentioned, was the story editor for the first 2 seasons.
Yes.
And he created My Life as a Teenage Robot, is that right?
Yes. And if you don't know, he on Foster's, was he a co-producer? He might have been a story editor as well.
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure, but he was kind of. I stepped away from Foster's for a short time, and Rob came in and was Craig's second-hand man. But more exciting, Rob has been a really big part of Gravity Falls.
Yeah. The producer? Something big for Gravity Falls.
Yeah, he's either a co-producer or director or something like that. But yeah, Rob's fantastic.
He brought me over to Gravity Falls.
Yeah, he's really good.
So Rob, but what I love about Rob and you is that you were like Captain Kirk and Spock. Rob is so.
Oh yeah, he's Spock.
He's so
I was about to
logical.
ask, and I'm like, no, Rob is Spock. He's so.
He's very funny, but he's so logical, and
He
he
is.
would just pace around the room with this dry look on his face. And Lauren was like getting into the emotion of the story, and he's being very logical.
Yes.
And he always called Rainbow Dash he.
He did.
Oh. Rainbow
not
Dash is
intentionally.
gonna smack
He
him.
was-
No, he knew she was a girl. It just slipped all the time.
The whole
He
time.
said he
Those
the whole
seasons.
time.
Rainbow Dash was a he. Would you have wanted to write more scripts, or did you like stepping back into more macro?
I had originally intended to be in the script rotation, because I was in the script rotation for Foster's, but they discouraged me from that, and it was wise. I did not have time. I absolutely did not have time.
Were there any premises in season 1 that you would have wanted to do? Or to write yourself, I should say.
Oh, to write myself?
Yeah. Not that what aired was bad or anything, but like that you...
No. You know what let's see. I think I wanted to do Cutie Mark Chronicles.
Really? I understand that. But I got to.
Yes.
That was a fun one for me too, because when I went back and looked through all the emails and notes and things, that was where I feel like you and I and Rob were starting to get a bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Your notes got more casual and funny.
Really? No, please. This should be fascinating.
This is the other interesting thing, is that this blew me away, because Cutie Mark Chronicles episode 23 of season 1 is the end. And there was so much happening in this episode that was being figured out. Like, you asked me in the script to call out the Man 6's cutie marks, what they actually were. And I wrote back and said, I don't know what they are. So this
and I went, oh my God, are you kidding me?
You never told me. This is my 3rd episode. And
that's right, it wasn't on the air yet.
It wasn't on the air. I didn't see any animation until after I wrote this episode. Because then it was season 2 summit, you brought in the pilot.
Oh, that's right.
And we got to watch it. And that was the moment where I was like, oh wow, this is something special.
Aw.
Because you played the episode.
Thank you.
That was because you played on the interview while I do this. You played the pilot.
That's good.
And I remember thinking, this is like melted Skittles on the screen, and I just want to lick the screen. And then you played Winter Wrap Up, the song Winter Wrap Up, and I was just like, this is legit. This is a really good show.
It took a while for people to realize that.
Did you have any moments where you were like, oh wow, this is actually...
Yes, well, you know, I believed in it. I believed in it from day one, but I was worried about the pace of the schedule, and I was worried about being so far away from the rest of my crew. But there's this beautiful moment, and you guys, it was so fast that I was overwhelmed with the workload I had. And there was one day where I was going to see the first animation tests, and it was just supposed to be a run cycle of Twilight. And before I opened it, I was really tired that day. I don't remember what was going on. I was really tired, and I went to, before I opened it, I kind of braced myself, and I went, okay, it's really important that this is good. So if it's not, you're gonna have to try to dig down deep, find the energy to get it right on top of everything else that you have to do, because it's really important. And then I opened the file and I watched it, and I went, oh my God, it's so good. It was amazing. It was just like, first of all, I think I was mostly just relieved, like, oh, I don't have to give any notes. But then I showed it to my husband, Craig, and Craig went, Lauren, this is going to be something special. Wow. Like, he really said, Craig had 2 big moments. That was one of them, and much earlier when he had heard the first auditions for Rainbow Dash, and he went, that's a star. That character is going to be a star. Wow. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Was that Walk Cycle the moment where Twilight kind of came to life for you?
No. You know, when I create characters, I mean, I think that might be why I'm such a hard ass about getting it right. Because when I create characters, they exist for me. They are real people. And
even before that.
Even before that, like, I knew who she was, and creating her was more about making sure everything reflected not even what I had in my head, but kind of what I felt in my gut.
Right.
So, and I am that way to this day. Like, it's because I always say it's all about the character. So, like, she was this girl that I knew, and she needed to exist in a certain way. So every time I saw something that reflected what I felt, those were thrilling moments.
Right. Very cool. I'm still gonna read this note.
Read the note. I'm dying to hear it.
So what I was saying was, this late in season 1, these things were being figured out as we go. At one point, Rob gave me a note saying, "Lauren, should this be Angel, the rabbit?" And you said, "Yes, this is exactly what Angel would be doing." And I wrote back and said, "Who's Angel?" I don't know who that is. And then this.
But that was a symptom of the fact that I didn't have all my writers together.
Right.
You know, so people weren't able to work off of each other, and people weren't familiar with what other people were working on and writing.
Yes.
You know, so that was on top of my workload. I had to make sure that everybody who was separated from each other still managed to get them on, make sure everybody's on the same page. So.
Yeah, we all got each other's scripts, but it takes time to write them.
Yeah.
By the way, you remember Angel's original name?
I don't.
Mortimer.
Oh, that's right. He was a mouse. He was a mouse. He started as a mouse in Ticketmaster. He was Mortimer the Mouse because I thought it was funny that this tiny little thing was bossing Fluttershy around. I don't know why we changed it to a rabbit. I know we couldn't keep the name Mortimer because I think that was a Disney thing. Mortimer.
Oh, really?
Somewhere, yeah, it was a legal thing. Yeah.
Dang.
Okay, so
crap.
in Peter Chronicles, Twilight's story, back in Canterlot, it's the Summer Sun celebration. Celestia's going to raise the sun. I didn't know what that looked like. So I wrote it, and it was this big dramatic, she was straining this whole thing. And you wrote a note saying, "I don't think it would be like that. She does this every day. This is more a ceremonial thing." And your note was, "You could make it really girly and Sailor Moon-like, with the magic within her, makes her long rainbow hair whip around her and crap." And she glows all unearthly and stuff. But that's like a note you wouldn't have given me on Swarm of the Century. That was definitely
Yeah.
more comfortable with each other.
I think I was putting less thought in what I was saying too.
That was a good note. I knew exactly what you meant.
The crap drove it home. Really solidified the thought.
Let me ask you one more thing about writing, and then I'm going to move on to other elements. You told me, we went to dinner like a month or two ago, and you told me that you tried to, you couldn't really, but you tried to pair the writer with the episode.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So how did that manifest itself? Like, were there any where you actually were able to do that?
Yeah, in the beginning I was. If we had a stockpile of premises, which meant, you know, like when we started the Bible, you know, we had just about 10 premises or something, and like 8 of them or something were approved. So I was able to pick from those premises and go, oh, Cindy would be really good at this one, or Amy would be really good at this one, or, you know, so I was able to kind of cherry pick which ones I wanted to give to one writer. At a certain point, we were submitting premises, and when they were, you know, not approving them, or, you know, it just happened that at a certain point, this is the only premise we have,
Right.
This is the next writer up, I would rather give it to this writer because this is better for their strength, but I have to give it to this writer instead. And that was frustrating. That was something that, you know, this was the first time I had ever had to submit premises for approval. Like on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, we came up with our own premises. And then we sent in the outlines for approval, but you know, so we were in a constant flux of, here's the premise we want to do. In fact, in Foster's, we would sit in a story meeting and we go, all right, Tim's the next writer up, let's come up with a story for Tim.
Right.
We would come up with the story in the writer's room. So in this one, it was a new experience for me, and that would have been ideal. You know, and now like Medusa, you know, I have storyboard artists waiting for their scenes. I do the same thing. I go, well, this sequence should go to this storyboarder, and this sequence should go to this storyboarder, because you want to let people use their strengths.
Right.
You know, you don't want to give your writer or your storyboarder who are really great at like emotionally sensitive stuff. You don't want to give them the action scenes, you know, and you don't want to give your people who are great at the adventure stuff something really sensitive or,
Right.
you know, so, but at a certain point, there was just no choice.
It's fascinating.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does.
But you know, I mean, it's like you have and that's the challenge always, is you have to juggle, you know, ideally how you want things to go with the reality of the situation, and your mind has to be nimble and try to work that around. Unfortunately, what it meant was, unfortunately for me, was like if I had to give an inappropriate story to a writer, it usually meant I had to do more revisions.
Right.
Which was unfortunate, yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about this yesterday, but I was blown away that I was asked to write on the show more than once, because she kept giving me episodes and had references, like the first one was Storm of the Century, and it was the Turtles. And so I would go to the story meeting and be like, sorry, I've never seen Star Trek.
I know, that's what I said.
And then she brought me back. So then it's Return of Harmony time, and she's like, oh, he's going to be like Q from Star Trek Next Generation. I'm like, what? I had no idea who that was, so then I had to go watch a bunch of Next Generations. And there was the Music Man episode you gave me, and I'd never seen that. So it was like every story meeting, she's like, you know, like this. And I was like,
What?
do you remember your reference to me for Luna in the Lunar Eclipse before she became?
Oh yes. Although I can't remember the name of the character. April in
April.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, April
Yeah.
Parks and Rec. That was
the original concept.
That was the first draft of the script, was April.
Yeah.
And again, I'd never seen Parks and Rec.
Yeah. Someone at the hub didn't believe I could be that funny. So.
Oh, those notes, I read those notes this morning. They were harsh.
They were harsh.
They were not nice. They were mean.
Aw.
All right, casting. So when I look at the show, there's one central voice casting choice that clearly you built the cast around. Peter New. Can you talk about Peter New? Tell me about Peter New, casting Peter New.
Well, we needed somebody to say one word
Hey, yep.
really well. We auditioned thousands.
One word.
He was the
You have
one.
the spirit of it.
Yes, he captured it. Everything about that character, you know, all the depth, all the angst, all the agony, you know, his torturous backstory. It's all wrapped up in one word.
Did he come in with like backstory planned out?
He must have. It all came through. He didn't tell me, but I could feel it. His voice.
So I've heard you talk about Tara Strong, who plays Twilight Sparkle, and John. Stop true, we're not talking about that. I haven't really heard you talk about the casting of the Canadians.
Yes.
So how did that work? Were you up there?
I was not.
You cast them remotely?
Did everything remotely. Everything was from my home office, except for story meetings. It
The
was
stars
all
of your show, you didn't meet them.
No, I didn't. I mean, what was great was that DHX, Studio B at the time, had, you know, they knew the Canadian voice acting community, which I did not, so I had to really rely on them. I wrote up character descriptions and lines that I wanted the people auditioning to read, and they called in the people that they knew well and that had done good work for them in the past, and every character, they just sent me, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 people who all read the lines, and I listened through, and I made my picks, and then some people at DHX made their suggestions, and some people at Hub and Hasbro made their suggestions, and you know, a couple of characters actually I did not get my top picks, but
Really?
It all worked out wonderfly.
Peter wasn't one of them, was he?
No, I left Peter at the start. But that's how it worked, and they just sent
That's
the
crazy.
auditions through to me, and
What-
I had to fight for Kathy for Spike.
Really?
I did. I had to fight. Somebody at the Hub really liked someone, I don't remember who did an audition for Spike, and I was doing the Gurgi voice.
What
You know,
the
this thing that everybody's
Oh, no
heard
way.
10,000 times and is incredibly annoying. they really liked that. And I was
Ugh.
like, oh my God, no! No!
Woo! Good save! Good save!
Welcome. Yeah, no, that was horrifying. So like I made some compromises in another place so I could get Kathy for Spike because yeah, that was
Kathy's best Spike.
Yeah, that would have been terrible.
So when did you meet them?
I went up to DHX periodically every 3 months or so to just to have human interaction. So whenever
That's a running theme.
unfortunately. So every time I went up there, we recorded a new episode every week. So if any of the weeks that I went up there, I would sit in on the recording sessions then. But other than that, like every week I was on the phone for all the recording sessions, and giving direction again remotely. So if I remember right, they did send me up for the recording of the pilot.
Okay.
So I did get to meet everybody then.
I would hope so.
I hope so, yes.
The show is so disjointed. There's no reason it should have been as good as it was.
Thank you.
The lead actor is in LA. The rest of the cast is in Vancouver. The musicians are in Vancouver, except for the background musician who's in LA. The writers are in LA. The executives are in LA. The artists are all in Vancouver. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I was too naive at the time to realize how gorgeous it was. Yeah, at cost. My health, yes.
Who has the more disturbing backstory? Applejack and her parents, or Scootaloo and her parents?
Okay, so this is what I had. I did want Applejack's parents to have been deceased.
Really?
That was, yes. I knew that they would never let me say that because it's too sad. So I just kind of skirted the issue. I just went, they're a family, and it's 3 kids and a grandmother, and what happened to the parents? It's you guys guess, but in my mind, it was they were gone. They had died. But for me, that just meant that they were more closely knit family. I mean, that's tragic and everything, but the good thing that comes out of it is the bond and the love that they have for each other that came out of that tragedy. For Scootaloo, I never had a specific backstory for her at all. But my thoughts on Scootaloo was that she's got parents, they're great people, we just don't meet them. We hang out with Scootaloo when she's hanging out with her friends. And if there was ever a reason to introduce her parents in any sort of story that we were going to tell, then we would. And I wanted to keep the flexibility that, if we came up with a story and Scootaloo's parents needed to be different, or she only needed to have one parent, or she was a foster kid, or something, if there was another reason, if there was a reason to give her parents that are a different way than what I kind of had back in my mind, we could, because I never bothered to define it. It's like Rarity's parents, Rarity and Sweetville. We never had a plan for them. We just came up with an episode, and we went, maybe her parents come by and say this. Okay, well that means we have to invent her parents. Which is fun, especially in the first season. It's like you're building the world, and as much as you plan the way the world is, you have to be open to flexibility as you write and as things grow to change things as needed. So it's like you can define things as much as you can, but if it's not up on the screen, it's all up for debate.
Right.
So yeah, Scootaloo's she's fine. She's just a late bloomer. At least in my book. I don't know what they're doing now, but for me, she's just a regular kid. She's just a little behind the other ones. That's it. There's nothing tragic about her at all. In my book.
It's sort of a beautiful thing with what you just said about Applejack, if that was what you had planned, because in the pilot, there's this gigantic family with millions of ponies who are all related and they have such a great time or whatever.
Yeah.
But the subtext there is the core of this family. Apple core, get it? But the core of the family is gone. The parents who connect Apple Bloom and Applejack and back to the rest of them are gone. But yet they still have this really
Extended
It's
family.
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Should have been in there.
Thank you. Also too.
Graphic death scene.
Yes.
That's what
They
you
were
meant.
eaten by timber wolves.
Oh.
No, they weren't. No, I don't know. You know, if you asked me to say what happened to them, I wouldn't have an answer for you. I hadn't thought it out that far.
I always thought
And I don't
Scooby's
think it's
parents
important.
murdered Applejack's parents.
I like that. See, story meetings.
Yeah.
That's why you have story
That's why
meetings.
it's funny. Okay, so on this subject. How much time do we have? We have another hour, right? Do I have 15 minutes? Is that right?
Homer.
Okay. Okay. I don't know.
I am
Was-
not drunk enough.
We can fix
Can you
that.
think of a moment in the first season where either the way a line was delivered or a new thing was added in the script or something a storyboard artist did that you weren't expecting that really kind of crystallized the character?
You should have asked me that before so I could have thought about it. I would have to think about that because it was so long ago. It's not on the tip of my tongue.
That's all right. I have other questions.
I know there absolutely were, but we only have 15 minutes.
I'm just thinking of things like what I loved about this show was you have the day-long story meeting where you go through the entire episode and you leave with a stack of cards.
Hold on, I have an answer. The way Amy Keating Rogers wrote Pinkie Pie's dialogue. That was a huge one for me because
Locked her in.
I think that defined her. So go Amy! That's one. But there's so many more, but that's one.
There was just, so you leave with a stack of note cards, you know exactly what the story is, you feel confident in that because it's like, oh, I don't have to figure out this plot hole because the story's there, you get the act breaks, the whole thing. But then built into that, there was so much freedom to try to experiment, to come up with things, and you and Rob would say, no, not that, yes, that's good. And it felt like we were kind of helping shape the characters a bit,
Absolutely.
but in an amazingly structured way, because we had the stories. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, well, this is the approach I believe. I believe, you know, it's my job was to make sure everything was cohesive. There was like so many people working on it, and they were all separated from each other, and I had to make sure that all the pieces fit together. But at the same time, so I had to give structure and I had to give direction. But at the same time, I believe that artists need space. They need space to breathe and they need space to think. And I know it's the most frustrating thing for me when somebody sits there and holds my hand and tells me exactly what they want me to write. It does not come out good. It does not. So I like to give people direction like, I want you to make the characters talk to each other here so that at the end of the scene, the audience understands this bit of information. How you get that information across is up to you, because you're a creative person and you're an artist, and I trust you and I want you to do this work. All I need is for what you write to equal this when it's finished. And I want to give people, you get better work from people when you give them as much freedom as possible. And you know, I want people to give me that freedom, and I want to give the people who work for me as much of that freedom as I can as well.
And that's what the notes were. And again, this is Captain Kirk Spock thing, but that's what your notes were. Were always that.
Yeah.
It's here's where I want to get to. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then Rob's were very logical. Would she say this? And I have a couple of examples of great Rob.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Rob lines. Because the way this would work, because we're all freelance, is I would submit an outline or script to Lauren and Rob, and then the conversation would happen on the page. In the outline, there's track changes on the side, and they would talk to each other in these comments.
Yeah, Rob would say, hey Lauren, do you think this should happen? And I'd go like, no, that's stupid.
And crap.
Yeah, right, do this crap instead. But yeah, because I wanted the writers to hear Rob's thought as well. You know, even if I contradicted Rob, or if I supported Rob, or if Rob said something that made me think of something like, oh yeah, that, and do this too. But I wanted everybody to see what I wanted them to see the thought process.
See the conversation. And the same with the script. There's little things called script notes that you can open up and you can see the conversation. So Rob, at one point, I don't know the context of this. It's funnier without the context. Rob gave me a note on Rarity, and all it said was, "Can she swing a pickaxe, Lauren?" I just loved it. Like, it was dead serious. He really was like, "Lauren, Rarity wield a pickaxe."
What was my answer? Do you have it?
You didn't answer.
I didn't answer.
Yeah, but the pickaxe must have gotten removed. And then this is one of my favorite of yours. This was the end of Cutie Mark Chronicles when they all looked very cheesy. We all saw the same rainbow. We all, Rainbow Dash, your Sonic Rainbow made our things appear. Lauren says, "I said that there's a group hug." And Lauren said, "Ponies look creepy when they hug." There's more. Ponies look creepy when they hug, maybe just aggressive nuzzling.
I know what that was. I was very against their arms being used like human arms. I was like a Nazi about that for a while.
That's
I
true.
lost.
That would be
There
cute.
were a lot of notes that were like, "This is not anatomically possible."
I was crazy. I was really adamant about that, and I lost.
So I don't know why Rarity had an axe, but she did. Okay, so feel free to tell me no on this question. This is a bit of an intense question.
Oh boy.
But this is a remarkable thing that's happened, that we're sitting here now and doing this because of the show, which is a remarkable show, and it's this lightning in a bottle situation.
Yeah.
So then you leave.
Yeah.
How do you mentally get geared up for your next thing?
It's hard. There's so much. It was difficult for a very long time because I couldn't help but think that things went south for me, that it was my fault, that it wasn't good enough. So that if I was good at what I did and if I was better, that I wouldn't have had to leave. So when I went on to try to do new things, settling things didn't come as easily to me. I questioned myself more. Still do. Always worried. It's such a special thing. It's such an amazingly special thing. It seems like there's no way it could ever happen again. So it took a long time for me to kind of find the strength to move on to other things, and to try to do new things and create new things. It's been tough. I was hopeful for Super Best Friends Forever, and that didn't work out. And I'm hopeful for Medusa, and we'll see how that pans out in the long run. But I don't want to be totally depressing, but I also want to be honest.
Yeah.
It has been hard. I think maybe other people might have bounced back better than I have. But I'm still, pushing forward and hoping for the future. This is the thing for me, and it took me a long time to realize this. We're artists, we're creative people, and we do what we do because we love it. And you can't do a good job unless you love it. And unfortunately, that sets you up for heartbreak. Because this is a business and it needs to make money. And there's other people who have their ideas about what's profitable and what isn't. And it's especially when you're making stuff for girls, it's just a constant battle. So I'm a storyteller, I have a voice. I feel like hope, I feel like I have a unique voice. And I'm just trying to find the best outlet to get it out there as uncompromised as possible. So it's still a journey for me. I'm still hoping to find my place where I get to tell my story in its entirety. So, like I said, I don't want to be depressing. I know it disappoints people to hear, that I'm not.
Deal with it, you guys.
But I'm still struggling with finding perfectly honest, still struggling. It's been a hard road.
It's an incredibly unique set of circumstances that you've gone through.
Yes.
That most people never go through.
Yes.
So it's just, I don't know. I'm only a freelance writer on the show, and I find it hard to get as excited about my own book as I am about this show, because it was such a fun experience and I get to connect with these people. But it's not my show. Like, I didn't create the show like you did.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even imagine, okay, that's done now. Now I'm gonna do something else. And then just the emotions, you've got to kind of gear up to do that.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, no, and you know, I've been, you know, Super Best Friends Forever was very healing for me because there was just these tiny little shorts and people seemed to like them a lot, so that was nice. Very helpful. And, you know, when just getting the job at Sony, you know, when they came to me to offer me Medusa, they said, like, have you ever thought about feature films? And I said, like, well, I thought about it a little, but I just never thought that kind of opportunity would ever present itself to someone like me. In part because of being a woman. And so, like, landing that job was actually really therapeutic for me as well.
So confidence is a big part of it. It's not necessarily creative.
Oh yes. It's hard to be creative if you're not confident.
Right.
You know, if you don't, there was a time on Foster's and then on Pony, I remember that amazingly freeing feeling of feeling like you were doing a good job. You know, writing something because you're like, this is the way to do it, I believe in it. You know, and that was like something I had when I was younger, and I don't have as much anymore.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get it back.
You gotta take a drink after you say that.
What's that?
Take a drink after you say that.
Hell yeah.
I don't have it. Used to.
Oh no, and it's true. I guess that's part of being, you know, a jaded person in their 40s. But you know, I'm still working to get it back. I mean, what I did find, which I think is good, is that I know I can't live without it. I can't not be a creative person.
You have no choice.
Yeah, so I have to keep fighting.
Wait, okay, so you said something to me when we had dinner that blew my mind. I mean, it still blows my mind. So my question to you, and feel free to veto this.
Okay. I'm drinking. I don't.
Do you want me to
I don't veto when I'm
should I
drinking.
go with my pipsqueak question instead, or?
Oh, I don't know. Whichever one you want.
Okay. What is your impression of their impression of you?
Oh.
No, I'm very. There's a very specific reason I'm asking this. She has an incredibly skewed idea about what you guys think of her.
Well, you know, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and answer.
Do it, truthfully.
Because I think it what I just said was bad enough. You know, I feel like you don't miss me.
Aww.
I feel like people can't tell the difference between the shows I worked on and the shows I didn't work on, and that all that work really wasn't worth it.
Isn't that mind-blowing? I'm trying to tell
sorry.
you, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But she,
Hard.
Yes.
that's amazing. Everyone knows that you were the one indispensable person on this entire thing. This is all your thing. I know that.
It's hard, guys. It's like, you know, he likes it just the same as that.
No.
So let's talk about season 5.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. That's part of what I was talking about. Just and it comes with being an artist, constantly questioning whether or not you're good enough.
You said that at dinner, and I was just like, I didn't believe you that you actually felt that way. But then the more we talked, I was like, she really thinks this. This is crazy. Like, You were completely beloved.
Oh, well, thank you.
Love you!
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you believe them?
After that.
I think I can speak for them and everybody else who's not here and just saying like thank you for the passion you put into it. It's been life changing for me. It's been life. I mean, we hear all the time. It's been life changing for so many of these people. It's had real world impacts on thousands of people's lives. And thank you.
I don't even know what to say.
Should we go back to next week?
Yes, please. Oh boy, that's good.
What do we do here? 12:15. Should we just keep going? Okay. Who's after us? That's it, right?
Alright, no, okay, let's try to end on a happy.
Should we have a funny
on a stupid note.
Okay, two quick things.
Funny note.
There was a premise attached to the premise for Return of Harmony that I'd never read before, that never got made, and you had a creature in there called a beavork. Remember what? It was a beaver ogre. And
Oh, I remember!
the greatest name of
Oh my god, I don't know, I was really grasping at straws, I guess.
called them the pig-headed beavorks.
No, no, okay, I think I remember that. I think I remember that now. Yeah, that got rejected. Wow.
Not enough aggressive nuzzling.
I think
This is just for my own
really
curiosity.
rich.
So, Blue Eclipsed was such a weird episode because of Pipsqueak.
yeah.
He was there, and it felt like this was the beginning of a new character for the show, and he was just.
Yeah. I don't know why. Hasbro asked for a boy.
Oh, really?
They asked for a boy. They asked for a new boy character. I really don't know why, because for all of season 1, I kept Trixie. Trixie was a boy.
Really?
Trixie was a boy.
What?
And they said, no boys. Which is not a thing I hear very often. And then all of a sudden they said, like, we think we need a boy, we think we need a new boy character, so I went like, okay. You know, it's so funny because there's just certain ideas that come through that are so reflective of the end for me. And that was kind of like, all right, whatever. We'll come up with one and we'll see what people feel about him. And I did my best, and we made him, and we cast a kid I thought was like super cute, had a cute voice, and it's weird. That happened a few times. They ask for something and then I do it and then it just kind of dies. Like in season 1, they were telling me, you know, they were trying to come up with a toy concept for a train, and I was trying to be a good girl, and I said like, all right, well, we'll see if we can put a train in the show. Came up with a concept for a train. Didn't really want a train, but did it anyway. Being a good girl, doing my job. Put it in there, and when the prop design for the train came through, we said, you know, I went, well, you know, I'm sure they're designing a toy, I'm sure they'll have lots of notes on this. So we sent the designs through, and they didn't say a word. They didn't say anything, and then they made a train later. that was one of them. That was like, we really feel like you need a boy character, and we went, all right, we'll make one. That's great. And they never asked for him to come back.
He was gone.
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't. I don't know. I guess maybe it's because I created him half-heartedly and
Right.
didn't really feel like he was necessary. That, you know, I wasn't gonna bring him back unless they asked for it, and then they didn't. So he's weird.
He is weird.
He doesn't belong.
He doesn't need to be in the episode.
Yeah.
He's very cute. He's very cute.
Yeah, but then there's side characters that I thought kind of deserved maybe bigger roles, like Twist. But they were like, no Twist, never, never. Like it was really weird. We kept trying to write Twist in because we thought she was cute and funny. I thought she was really sweet, and every time we put Twist in, they were like, we don't like Twist, take Twist out.
They're mean.
Thanks, Ezra.
Poor Twist.
If anything, get rid of Diamond
Okay.
Tiara.
I'm gonna wrap up. I
Aww.
want to do one more funny note from Lauren to close out.
Yes, please.
Forgive her language. So this was from Return to Harmony. It's interesting. In the outline, you were very concerned that it was reading too serious. So a lot of your notes were find the humor, find the humor, find the humor. And this was one case.
Uh-oh.
We need to. She's talking about Hasbro. We need to let them know what will be funny and cartoony about all our characters turning into bitches. Well, okay, so again, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, Nick. This was fun.
This was very Thanks,
That forever. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Love you! Bye, Lauren. Love you, Lauren.